All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have RTK versus BBB clan war for you all here. This first match is going to be myself versus the Leonidas. I'm going to be leading Norska, and Legitas is going to be leading the Empire. So, and here is the rest of our lineups for you here today. We have Isha Satsuma will be leading the Greenskins against Smaggle. Again, as the Dark Elves, we have Prussian Prince versus Coma White in the High Elf versus Greenskin matchup. We have Tex versus Steve in a Lizardmen and Tomb Kings lineup for our 4 1v1s. And for our 2v2s, we have Vicious Satsuma and Kafka as the Skaven and Dark Elf combo against Ludwig and Steve for Chaos and the High Elves. Our next 2v2 will be Majutsu versus Prussian Prince, or with Prussian Prince as Bretonia and the Dwarves, and they will face off against Malverde and Coma White as the Lizardmen and Norska. And for our final 3v3 matchup, we'll have Wicked Pirate, Majutsu, and Silly going with the Vampire Coast, Wood Elves, and Empire against Ludwig, Steve, and Malverde with Bretonia, Skaven, and Vampire Coast for our final match. So if you're not familiar with the scoring for this setup, it will be each of the 1v1s will be worth 1 point, the 2v2s are worth 2, and the 3v3 will be worth 3 points for the final match. So, Pacifist Warlord was planning on streaming this as well. I haven't gotten a response to him yet. But right now, we are set for our first match. We'll switch on over to that. You can still see the lineups there. All right. So yeah, I have not heard back from Pacifist Warlord, so we'll get things started, and if he is he comes online in a bit, we can always get him in for the later matches. But we are all set, so we will get things underway. Yeah, so this particular matchup, I guess I've played this a few times often. I do have to switch up my build a bit, as I know Leonidas was able to see what I normally bring in this matchup for one of my prior videos, but I have kind of mixed things up a little bit. But otherwise, I think, yeah, both sides have some good tools to use here. I think generally Empire has a bit more. So we can take down this screen blocker. All right. So yeah, for my build, I've brought, we got Wulfric, the Wanderer on his Mammoth. We do have a Famir Balefiend of Shadows, going to be bringing Enfeebling Foe, the Pendulum, and the Withering. Maybe get a nice little leadership debuff at a critical time that can break the front line. We do have quite a bit of mobility as well, with a front line of Marauder Berserkers, with some Marauders kind of provide a little bit of support. But yeah, the mobility department, we have a few Norskin Warhounds, Skin Wolves, and some Armored Skin Wolves to provide some harass. Keep things honest to allow our frontline infantry to get the engagements that they kind of want. So. Yeah, normally the build that I normally bring actually features a few ice trolls. So we'll see. We have a pretty even in terms of unit counts. So we might be seeing a few, maybe a cavalry skirmish potentially. Although we'll see how things go. It looks like he is ready. Alright, so yep, I am ready. And we'll get this show started. So, yep, that is exactly what he brought. He brought a very mobile force. So, whew. So luckily we'll have the Skin Wolves will be able to, a little slower, but they, let's see, because we do have Empire Knights, Outriders. So we'll see how this even works out. Lots of mobility.
I'll take heads. Making my way. Very well. Consider it done. Charge them. There. Doing it. Chaos Marauders. Quick. Maneuvering. Quickly! Charge! They will succumb! Very well! With speed!
Try and work our way forward, but I think we're just going to have to weather the storm for the most part here.
The gods demand it! Where's the enemy?
But yeah, actually, if we can just take the shots with these Skin Wolves, because they do have their regen, so they'll be able to at least, I mean, they'll take damage, but as long as you don't lose models, we should be doing alright. Get a little support. Berserkers actually did a few good damage to the Knights of the Blazing Sun. As long as those Knights stay away. So we're not doing too... Oh, that's not what we wanted. There's the nice... Oh, well, they...
Honor the tribe! Wulfric the Wanderer! Backing! Quickly now! Outbound men! Onward! Faster! A blade's hunger! Bring us to carnage! For the Blood God! No! Lead us to mortals! Fine! Scouts for my army! Orders taken! I'll abide! With speed! For the Blood God! Corn demands! Quipsack! Charge them! The inescapable one! Bring us to carnage! Get them! My gods call! Yes! Backing! Yes!
So, yeah, pretty much weathering the storm. Not doing... sorry, commentary kind of lacking a little bit. So, yeah, not doing too bad as long as keep our skin wolves now at least a little. Okay, something came back there. Not sure where. Oh, so berserkers quite spread out.
Chaos Marauders! Into position!
If I can. Little damage there.
Please back chaos! Now! Now! Raw! So be it! Horde demands! Bring us to carnage!
Yeah, Wolfrick's taking a lot of damage.
Hear my corpse! Raw! Dark Warman! Swarm! Chaos Marauders! Galadonadon! Mortal wound! Pull back! Fight! Psychopatha!
Not looking so good.
Chaos! Darkus 3! Chaos Marauders! Chaos! They will succumb! For chaos! Charge them! Command us! Deliver slaughter! For chaos!
Well, yeah, not looking like you're able to weather it quite enough. Lots of ammunition from all the pistoliers and outriders.
What? The dark gods command me! Clipsack!
Well, yeah, GG there. Well, I was kind of hoping that having that much mobility that his micro wouldn't be quite on top of things, but yeah, he managed to pull off that type of build fairly well. And yeah, Norska definitely has a trouble. Even had I gone with a skirmish force there, I don't think I could have really kept up. I mean, horse masters against that much mobility and like all those outriders and pistoliers, don't think that would have been quite enough to pull that one off. So yeah, pretty much, yeah, Random X, I was really hoping that he wouldn't have gone full kite. Unfortunately, it was a very big map, but wasn't quite enough. So we will host a new lobby now. And we will get to the next match in. All right. Alright, so Vicious and Ismagal, if you want to jump on in, the lobby is up. Let's see. Alright, I can switch back on over. Oh, okay. So, Vicious can't see the lobby. We'll have to... I don't think I have him on my friends list, so we'll have to get him added real quick. So yeah, Vicious Satsuma will be leading his esteemed greenskins. So he should put on a good show. And so yeah, we're just going to be waiting on... So Satsuma has joined in. See, I think this is him. Alright, so we got both players in for this matchup. And we'll get the map set as well. I think it is Altdorf Outskirts. It is. And we'll also get the score updated as well. First point going to BBB. So yep, Dark Elf versus Greenskins for this next map, or next match. And yeah, for this match, I mean, the skirmishing potential of the Dark Elves is pretty good. They'll pretty much outtrade all of the skirmishing that the Greenskins can bring, but the Greenskins can bring a lot more in terms of quantity if they want to go that route. Alright, so yeah, we're just waiting. Let's see. Actually, we're gonna... Pacifist, I think, has got a little mixed up with the times. I don't think he must have missed that it was at 1700 instead of 18. So we'll just give him a second to see what he wants to do. I know he wanted to be streaming it a little earlier. All right, well, I think we're just going to get going while I saved the first replay, so if I can get that over to Pacifist if he still wants to. Oh, actually, he is typing now. See what he is going to say. Otherwise, we should be getting going on the second match fairly quickly. Okay, so we will start this match, and he'll join for the next one. All right. Yeah, so each of these each of the players that have their faction selected, it was a blind pick, so none of these were counter picks to any faction, just kind of how the roll of the dice was. But let's go over the Greenskin army first. And we are being led by Grom the Paunch. And he is going to be bringing his lucky banner. The Great Hun is here, and Language of the Boys. So yeah, pretty good against, give it a nice immune to psych, and then just a bunch of leadership and some damage resistance. We do have a Goblin Big Boss, as well as a Giant River Troll Hag. The Giant River Troll Hag is going to be bringing Spirit Leech, and we got his Fate of Yuna, along with Mither. We have some mobility in some Orc Boy Biggins, and I believe there was some more. But we do have a mass amount of skirmish potential in the front line with Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, with some Spider Rider Archers as well. A set of each on the two flanks for the Greenskins. Front line is going to be some Orc Boys across the board, and then we have some Trolls, just the regular variant. We don't have any Stone Trolls here. The leadership from Grom should help to keep them in the fight, and we do have the 8P Gloonies, a very nice unbreakable unit. Those Fanatics will do well against any of the tightly packed Dark Elf infantry. And that should be all for the army that the Greenskins have brought. Really going heavy on the skirmish potential. And then for the Dark Elves, we do have 3 Dark Repeaters with crossbows. So a very good skirmish potential. We do not see any of Scourge Runner Chariots here. And I think the Greenskins should be able to handle those 3 units. Quantity is a quality all of its own. For the front line, we do have some Bleak Swords with some Dread Spears, and we have the Sisters of Slaughter and the Sisters of Singing Doom. So we have some rampaging and then just a very good anti-infantry unit in the terms of the Sisters of Slaughter. We do have a Master on his Cold One Chariot, and we have Malekith up on Seraphon, bringing Gaze of Malice and Soul Stealer. Kind of a pretty standard for what he'll be bringing. He should be, there's nothing, I mean, these skirmishers aren't really going to be able to put too much of a hurt onto him in the sky, and he will be able to pick and choose his engagements. Otherwise, we do have some Cold One Knights on the far flanks with a Dark Rider mixed in as well. It looks like that should wrap things up for the army. Let's take a look. So yeah, the Master is just bringing his no special abilities. I know he does have Guardian, but he is not going to be bringing that for this particular matchup. So yeah, 2 Dark Riders, and that is all for the 2 armies. So let them know start when ready. So yeah, quickly the Greenskins are going to be turning towards to face the Dark Riders with Beer Crossbows. Going to be pulling back from that initial salvo, looking to dodge pretty much all of those shots. Only maybe a couple even connecting there. Getting a little bit more pokes into the Dark Riders themselves. But really it's going to be a little bit back and forth now, as both sides are pretty much content just to skirmish, as none of the main armies have really advanced. Though the Greenskins, I would say, definitely have the advantage in terms of the infantry grind. They have a lot more units, and they are going to start moving up. The deal is just slowly make their way forward, trying to weather the storm from any of these mobility units on the far flank, while their Goblin Wolf Riders and all the other skirmishers are going to be trying to poke away at the Dark Riders as best they can. Gaze of Malice is going to be coming on in, doing some decent damage to the Goblin Wolf Rider archers, otherwise kind of missing the Orc boys themselves. Actually, we have Malekith has taken a little bit of damage from it, so he's getting Spirit Leeched by the Giant River Troll Hag. That's pretty much going to be their best way to deal with him when he's up in the sky. Getting enough targets focusing down will be able to do some damage, but I think they're going to want to be trying to deal with the skirmishers, which they give these 2 units are kind of pulling back as these Dark Riders do get kind of mixed in with the Orc Biggins. And these Orc Boys get a nice screen off on these Cold One Knights as they tried to countercharge those Orc Boy Biggins. Now those Orc Boy Biggins might try and pull back and get a round and a nice rear charge, but right now the Trolls and Grom the Punch are piling in, and here comes Malekith jumping onto the back of Grom, and this is going to be a very big engagement as a Soul Stealer is going down on all of these units. The Dark Riders have routed, but right now that Soul Stealer catching a bunch of units, and these Sisters of Singing Doom actually rampaging these Orc Boys, so they'll be doing some nice damage there. The Giant River Troll Hag has kind of pulled off a little bit, but some good damage has been done on both sides. I think the Greenskins probably took a little bit more of a beating, but now a lot of their other units are starting to engage these Bleak Swords. Though they are supported by the Sisters of Singing Doom, and they are dealing quite a bit of damage to those 2 Orc Boys. But otherwise, these Cold One Knights have been routing, so actually this pocket on the Greenskins' left flank has actually gone fairly well for them, as they're actually able to shatter the Cold One Knights. That is a very good unit to have off the board so early on in the match. So that it just kind of leaves one more of the higher tier cavalry for the Dark Elves, and now the Master's kind of isolated right now, and here comes Malekith to kind of assist in that engagement. Though all of the kind of big units, the Trolls would probably like to have a little bit more infantry support, though the Orc Boy Biggins have been able to at least rout off the Sisters of Singing Doom and probably will be able to shatter them. They are very low. I don't even know if they'll be coming back either way. But right now the other Cold One Knights are engaged, though they don't have any infantry support right now, and a lot of the Greenskins are focused on this engagement, and it is not going to be looking so good. Though another Soul Stealer trying to top off Malekith a bit, catching a lot of good units. The Trolls are now going to be routing off, but the skirmishers for the Greenskins are pretty much free to reign right now. Some of them getting into the Dark Riders with the Peter Crossbows, kind of mucking them up. So here comes a couple more units getting a nice sandwich off onto them. Might be able to even break their leadership, and if they do, they will be off the field, as the Master is getting beat down right now. Once again, very isolated. Sisters of Singing Doom finally coming in, but I think that's going to be too little too late. A nice breath attack come down onto Grom. But yeah, now that I think a lot of the higher tier mobility for our Dark Elves is gone, those Orc Boy Biggins are going to be doing a lot better. Not really a whole lot that can contend them, and they should be able to stay free of Malekith fairly well. Sisters of Slaughter now are going to be isolated as Malekith does peel off, as a Spirit Leech goes down onto Malekith, as the Goblin Big Boss trying to keep him on the ground, though they are unable to do that. I think the Orc Boy Biggins right now, they could get a nice rear charge off onto the Sisters of Slaughter, probably breaking them with the charge if they're able to do that. Otherwise, yeah, we do see that the Dark Riders with Repeating Crossbows have all been kind of routed off right now, so it's looking very, very strong for the Greenskins. I don't think that Malekith is going to be able to do it, but a nice gaze of Malice is going to be coming down. Looks like some of the units able to get out of the way, but yeah, that's going to be army losses, and the Greenskins will take it, and RTK will balance out the leaderboard, taking game 2. So yeah, it went fairly well for very well for the Greenskins. The skirmishers were able to do their job, able to isolate those Darker Riders with Repeating Crossbows, and yeah, I think the Cold One Knights really went out too early, and probably just not enough infantry support. And the Dark Elves should have tried to have won that skirmish engagement a little bit longer. They kind of moved up with their infantry. Probably a little too soon. But yeah, very good match. And that will be it for the first one. So yeah, next one will be, take a quick look, will be Prussian Prince and Chroma White, so High Elves versus Greenskins. So we'll be seeing Greenskins again, this time under the control of BBB. Oops. So we'll get the score updated as well. All right, so our next contestants, if you guys want to hop on in. And I don't think I have Chroma White, so we'll have to get... So unless he can see the lobby... Oh, he's already... Prussian Prince is already in. And a Pacifist Warlord should be here fairly soon to start, so I'll get that last replay saved for him if he wants to show those at the end of his stream at all. Alright, I'm guessing Chroma White can't see the lobby. Let's see if I can't get an invite over to him. So, and the next map is also going to be Eschen. Alright, there's the invite. I think for this particular matchup, I mean, this is going to be the DLC matchup pretty much, and I mean, both sides have gotten a lot of tools that they can use right now, but I think the Greenskins, I think, just came up a little bit on top in terms of this particular matchup with what they can bring. I mean, Stone Trolls mixed with a Black Orc Big Boss, though yeah, my familiarity though with these two factions isn't as good as I would like, despite the fact being both of them being very strong factions. So now we do have both of our contestants in, and Pacifist Warlord was planning on joining us as well. Yeah, so he is on the way. We'll get things going as soon as he's ready and set up. All right. So yeah, hope you all are enjoying the stream so far. And yeah, if you're just joining us or missed kind of the initial lineup for this game, I can pull that up real quick just while we wait on a Pacifist. So yeah, let's recap first match. BBB did win against Norska as the Empire, taking the first game, but then Vicious Satsuma took game 2 as the Greenskins. And now we have the Greenskins again, this time commanded by BBB against Prussian Prince's High Elves. Yep, Legion, no vampire counts in this lineup. We didn't have any in the last one either. I know the roll of the dice generally doesn't favor them when you're going in with a blind pick. And they do have some potential very good 2v2s or 3v3 lineups. Just with the synergy that they can bring. So we do have Pacifist Warlord in. So yeah. So we'll switch on back on over to our all right. Knights, so this should still be nice and smooth with even with another spectator in. Though once we get done with the 1v1s, I'm going to end up re-hosting and just kind of knock down our graphic settings just a bit. So we will get this going. But yeah, and for all those in the 2v2s and 3v3s, I said this the last time, but make sure that you bring your graphic settings down to medium, just so we're just trying to minimize as much lag as possible during those matches. It went fairly well last time. We did have one drop, but otherwise I think things went fairly smoothly. Though adding another spectator in, so we're going to have grand total of 8 people in that 3v3 match, so we'll see how that handles. Alright, so the High Elves being led by Prussian Prince, we have a front line of Sylvan Guard. Going to really be looking to hold that front line for as long as possible, and the Sylvan Guard are just the tools to do that. We also have 3 Spearmen, so expecting some large units with this build. We have a Noble, we have a Lariel the Radiant up on her Eagle, and she's going to be bringing Earthblood, Shield of Thorns, and of course the Star of Averlorn and the Shield Stone of Isha, having a nice ward save for all the units in an area. And of course we have the Star Dragon up in the sky with some archers and a couple Lothern Sea Guard, and that will wrap things up. Pretty much all the mobility is going to be in the Star Dragon, Alariel, and the Noble is just on a horse. So he will have a bit of mobility to help support as well, but it's pretty much a stand your ground type of build. And for the greenskins, I see a couple stone trolls mixed in there. They will have a tough time beating down those Sylvan Guard. And we also have a front line. We're going to have Goblin Spears for that front line. And then we're going to have some Orc Boys as the secondary infantry line with some range units, some Orc Arrow Boys, a couple of units of those. And the Hammer of Gork, Goblin Rock Lobber ROR unit. And for mobility, we are going to be having 3 Orc Boys, not the big ones, just the regular units. And we have a Goblin Great Shaman up on Spider, going to be bringing Vindictive Glare, Itchy Nuisance, Gork will fix it, and then Arcing Conduit, and Don't Even Try It. But yeah, the Itchy Nuisance will help kind of bust through that Sylvan Guard line. But we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of kind of the cavalry and the stone trolls. They're going to have a tough time breaking through that Sylvan Guard. Don't have any real chariots to get through that. And that Star Dragon's going to be a big threat as well. I think those stone trolls are going to want to be at least a little reserved and hopefully try and deal with that Star Dragon and not get routed off too quickly. Though if the stone trolls do rout, there's nothing that the High Elves have that can really make sure that they stay routed. And right now, both sides are kind of taking up position on the opposite side hill. I think the High Elves are definitely going to have to advance, since the Hammer of Gork will just be firing away on them. So that is not going to be fitting so much into the game plan of the High Elves here. They definitely didn't bring a build that was generally suited to be advancing. Though if they get in range to at least get those archers firing in, they should be able to weather down that front line fairly well. Right now, if we take a look at the range, it looks like the Goblin or the Greenskin artillery is just on the edge as the High Elves are trying to skirt around that. I think they're going to try and take this far hill over here and work their way around. So they'll kind of have, at least they won't be working their way up the hill. They're going to be trying to advance down on top of the Greenskins deployment zone. And I don't know if the Greenskins are realizing the intent of this movement here of the High Elves, and if they did notice that, they would probably try and take this hill up here, or at least try and maybe put a little bit of pressure on them as they're trying to get that better position. But the Hammer of Gork is now firing into the Sylvan Guard, pretty much the best target for them. as much if the Silver Guard can be whittled down as much as possible before that the Greenskins have to engage, that's going to be all the better for them, because that's going to be really the big threat for, I mean, the Stone Trolls, for any of the cavalry units, for the Great Goblin Shaman, but of course you still have the Star Dragon. That also is going to be a massive threat as well. It does look like the Greenskins are pushing forward just a little bit, kind of deploying with some of their units, but now the Lothern Sea Guard is getting up a Vindictive Glare. A couple of the bolts do connect with the Lariel, not doing all that much damage. Nothing that can't be healed throughout the duration of the match anyways. Stone Trolls actually getting a little ahead of themselves, I think. I think they really needed to wait for their infantry support, because now they're just going to be engaging with the Silverin Guard. And Silverin are very good anti-large units, and especially with the Star Dragon jumping down, just absolutely munching through these Stone Trolls, down to 10 units, already losing a couple models. They're going to be routing very, very quickly. I mean, a Lariel might be able to help chase things away with that Noble. And the Orc boys are kind of circling around, looking to try and get into these archer units, as these spearmen are looking to try and screen them out. But yeah, both of those Stone Trolls are already routing, so that was a really big blow for the Greenskins. I definitely think they got a bit ahead of themselves there. We have Gorkle Fixit kind of reducing the speed of the unit, trying to keep them from chasing those Stone Trolls as much as possible. But it looks like the cavalry units for the Greenskins have been caught out by the spearmen, and a Lariel coming in to support. The other unit has also been caught out. Well, there are 2 more units, so that might open up the gap for those cavalry units to get into the back line. Orc boys are now kind of getting a little bit of a surround off onto the Silverin Guard. The Silverin Guard are starting to take a bit of damage. Balance power still fairly even in this matchup. A nice breath attack going right down the line, though it might have gone a little on the high side. I think it missed kind of some of those units a bit. The Goblin Great Shaman trying to help break the Silverin, and the Silverin are starting to get very low on leadership and HP. Their leadership is still holding, actually coming back a little bit, though I think it's only going to be a matter of time. They do kind of fall back, they are actually terrified right there. So that wasn't a deliberate withdrawal, kind of a forced out of necessity. But here are the cavalry units now getting into the Lothern Sea Guard, breaking through these spearmen, as these other spearmen units were trying to hold them off, and now they're just going to be going all over these archers in the back. Now these archers are not going to be as well suited to repel them as the Lothern Sea Guard are, but we do have the Star Dragon, the Noble, though Gorkle Fixit goes in on all of these. It just reduces the charge speed and all of the charge bonus, so that's not really going to help necessarily the engagement. The archers are going to be routing right now, but that Star Dragon with the Lariel is going to be helping with that engagement extremely well. The other units of Orc boys have gotten out, but here comes another unit getting a nice rear charge off onto these Lothern Sea Guards. Had those Lothern Sea Guards been braced for that may be a little different story, but the Silverin Guard are starting to break down across the board. Some of the Stone Trolls have come back and are engaged in this front line, trying to break them down. But I think the High Elves have done a good job so far of repelling the mobility of the Greenskins and keeping the Star Dragon and a Lariel very safe from harm. The Noble is kind of engaged right now, though there's not a whole lot of damage going his way. The Spearmen are still being able to repel things, and in come the other unit of Stone Trolls back from that initial engagement, and a massive breath coming in on that Goblin Great Shaman. That Star Dragon is going to be feasting well tonight against that Spider and the Stone Trolls. I don't know how well the Stone Trolls will digest. But once again, more of the Orc boys are getting repelled, and the Spearmen are now turning their attention to the Stone Trolls as the Lothern Sea Guard pull back. A Gorkle Fixit goes down onto the Noble and the Star Dragon, trying to keep them in that engagement, though they are able to pull back. Spearmen are now trying to come in to screen them out and allow a little bit of respite for the High Elf units, as a few more units do start to kind of pull back or come back from the Silverin Guard here. The Goblin Great Shaman trying to chase them off, though he's getting a little too far away from the units, so I think the Star Dragon and Lariel are focused on this mainline engagement, trying to break these Stone Trolls once again, as more of the Spearmen and Silverin Guard are actually routing right now. These two Orc War boys could easily just turn and make sure that they do not come back, while these Orc boys do come in to support this main engagement here. So an Itchy Nuisance going down, reducing the base weapon damage and melee attack of all these units. So that'll help with keeping these Stone Trolls from taking too much more damage. And yeah, the balance power initially was a bit in the High Elf favor, but now it's going back to even as all of the support that the High Elves had is getting broken down. And even though some of the units are coming back, they're getting hounded by the mobility that just wasn't quite able to be broken off. And this entire match, this Hammer of Gork has been just firing freely. There's nothing that's been able to put some pressure on them. As another Star Dragon Breath goes down. This time it does miss the Goblin Great Shaman. I think a little bit of patience would have gone a long way in just pretty much almost deleting that from existence. So the bounce power actually is going back and forth. Now it's back to even. Again, I think the Star Dragon with Alarielle is going to be a big threat for the Greenskins. However, with the loss of all their support, it's going to be a bit of a problem keeping them in a beneficial engagement. And surprisingly, the Lothar and Seaguard able to repel these Orc Boar boys, so they're able to continue firing in to allow the Star Dragon to kind of cycle in and out of combat as best they can. A few of the Silvern Guard and Spearmen able to come back. Some more units on the periphery, though with how low health that they are, it'd be fairly easy just to kind of make sure that they get pushed off. And the Star Dragon, though, is in a very bad way. Almost going to be routing right now, though luckily there shouldn't be anything that can keep it out of the fight for too long. Though this is going to be a big blow for the High Elves, as it is taking a lot of damage trying to get out of that engagement. Hopefully Alarielle is going to be able to make sure that things stay off of it as she does swoop down, trying to get these Stone Trolls away from that Star Dragon, as more of the Hammer of Gork shots raining into the Lothar and Seaguard, trying to eliminate that last range threat, even though they don't have a whole lot of ammo left. They are an anti-large unit, and now the Noble and Alarielle are stuck in engagement with the Stone Trolls. And it looks like we're going to have a... a Shield of Thorns goes down to actually keep these units in the fight for as long as they can. Star Dragon does come back, and the Star of Averlorn goes. This should be the first one of the match, as the Star Dragon does get into the circle as well to get some of that healing up, and that should help with that balance power. As you see, it goes right back up to the center there, and even starting to go into the favor of the High Elves, as it was pretty much very dominantly in the Greenskins' favor, and it pretty much does a complete 180 in terms of balance. It's just topping off Alarielle, giving a huge burst of health to the Star Dragon and Noble. With just a few shots left on the Lothar and Seaguard, though like one or two more shots from the Hammer of Gork will probably rout them off, though they only have, I think, maybe one more volley left in them. Star Dragon once again getting a little bit danger low in terms of leadership. High Elves definitely do not want to have that routing again. That is going to be a very bad scenario if that does happen, though they are able to shatter the Stone Trolls, and that is a big threat for that Star Dragon. And now the Star Dragon is probably going to be focusing on that Goblin Great Shaman, getting on top of it, going to be actually wavering and routing it, and see if it gets another attack or two. It does get a nice bit of damage off. It's getting very, very, very close to just straight up shattering right now. Orc Boar Boys shattering, and the balance power just going more and more into the High Elf favor. That Star of Averlorn just absolutely brings back these units from the brink of defeat, and that is how the High Elves are looking to be taking this back. Alarielle chasing off that Goblin Great Shaman, and with the leadership gone for the Greenskins, that's going to be a hard task for them to be able to come back on, as it does finally shatter. So that is going to be it for the leadership, and I think it's only a matter of time before you get a nice chain route from this Star Dragon. It is in with a bunch of Goblin Spears, but I mean, all you got left are Orc Boys, and the Stone Trolls are gone, the Cavalry is gone, and there's not a whole lot that's going to be left to deal with it. You do have some range units that can provide some firepower, but I don't think that the Greenskins have it. All it's going to take is one big chain route from that Star Dragon, and that is going to spell certain disaster for what the Greenskins have left. And there is that chain route, and it looks like army losses And another Star of Avalorn, saving it for the very end, which will push that army losses. And the High Elves will come back and take it. Yeah, that's Star of Avalorn, which is pretty much what won that match there. That Star Dragon was getting very low. Luckily, was able to come back. I mean, had the Greenskins been able to make sure that Alariel and the Noble stayed stuck in while they had one of their probably cavalry units run underneath that Star Dragon, probably would have been enough to make sure that that thing didn't come back. But very good match. They had the Hammer of Gork was able to fire freely for the entire match. Silverguard did fairly well at holding that front line, and I think a few misplays with these Stone Trolls probably cost them losing them in that late game, which they really were needed to deal with that Star Dragon. Their mass would have been able to keep them from getting out. And it looks like we actually have Steve already in for our next match. Yeah, Prussian Prince could definitely be conservative with those Stars of Avalorn, as both the Star Dragon and Alariel pretty much took no damage in pretty much most of that early battle. It wasn't until that late game when the Star Dragon started taking a lot of damage from the Stone Trolls and the Spider that it was actually needed. And once it did go off, that was just a absolute balance changer. So yeah, we'll get our scoreboard updated. And for our next lineup, we will have Tex versus Steve. This will be a Lizardmen versus Tomb Kings. A lot of people do think that Tomb Kings have the advantage in this particular matchup, though I think the Lizardmen have quite a few tools that can deal with things. Their big Carnosaurs do very well at just pretty much going straight through anything that the Tomb Kings can bring, with the exception of maybe some like Necropolis Knights or something like that to pin them in. Like Tomb Guard, anything like that, they're just going to walk right over them. Nothing can really pin them in place too well. We'll see if Tex has joined in for this next match, and it does look like he has. And let's see, the next map is going to be Oakenhammer as well. That will probably favor the Tomb Kings a bit, though, having that much open field. If they bring some any Ushapti or something like that, we'll be able to keep them at a distance for as long as possible. All right. So all of our actually did Pacifist looks like he backed out. Yeah, that's Star doing so much work in that last matchup. I think I could definitely probably use a little bit of a reduction in either the healing or either how long it takes. Oh yeah, Pacifist is back. so I think we're ready on this end. So as soon as our contestants are ready. So Basilisk just ended up getting dropped, but he is back. Okay. Oh, okay. So now we have a couple spectators here. All right, so it looks like all of our 3 spectators are ready. We'll see if the contestants are ready as well. All right, so they are both set. And yeah, probably expecting to see some Ushapti here. Generally, I think you see Cetra in this matchup. Though, I mean, Cetra or Arkan are both pretty decent picks. For the Lizardmen, probably expecting to see either Krokgar or probably a Soros Old Blood on the Carnosaur, I think would be my gut feeling on that. Though I know Tex is a very good Lizardman player, and I think he'll be able to pretty much has a good solution for this particular matchup. A little slower to load in with all the people, so we might have to reduce the spectators for the 2v2s, so we'll see how that goes. I'll end up rehosting that lobby anyways with a little bit lower graphics, so everything runs a bit smoothly. But for the Tomb King army, we do have Cetra the Imperishable up on his Sphinx, and he's going to be bringing the incantation of Curse Blades, incantation of Protection, Wrath of Petra, and the Blessed Blade of Petra. Some pretty standard spells and kit for him. Wrath of Petra potentially could be substituted out depending on how the funds work out. We also have the Lich Priest of Light, going to be bringing Vaz Protection and Net of Amnatok, as well as their, I guess, hybrid Arcane Conduit, which is the Nephra's Scrolls of Mighty Incantation, which pretty much does that power regen based on the surrounding allied units. We do have the Screaming Skull Catapult. We have 2 Ushapti with Great Bows, 2 regular Ushapti, and then the front line, it looks like it's going to be Skeleton Spearmen across the board, 5 of those. We do have Tomb Guard with Halberds, and a couple Nehekra and Horsemen to wrap things up. So yeah, definitely going heavy with the Ushapti, and then the ranged firepower here. And we'll see what the Lizardmen have to kind of close that gap. We have a front line of Soros Warriors. 4 of those. We have some Skink Skirmishers. We actually have 2 Ripperdactyl Riders, kind of a glass cannon unit. But if they are able to get on top of Cetra, they will be able to take him down fairly quickly. We have Krokgar on his Carnosaur, and we have a regular Feral Carnosaur. The Skink Priest of Beasts, going to be bringing just the transformation of Kadan, and a Skink Priest of Heavens, which is going to be bringing harmonic conversions, and it's that wind spell, the Wind Blast. So yeah, Krokgar is also going to be bringing Sacred Spawning. It gives them nice vigor and physical resistance. Deadly Onslaught, and then Hand of the Gods, which will do well against Cetra if he's able to make the connections with that. And we also have the Umbral Tide Salamander Hunting Pack with their nice stock, which will allow them to get in range to fire on through those Ushabti without getting shot all the way in. Though two Ushabti, once those Umbral Tide are visible, it's going to put quite the hurt on them. They'll probably be shooting at the Carnosaur up until then. So they can start when ready. Yeah, the Tomb Kings are pretty much going to be content to sit back and fire away with their Screaming Skull catapults and Ushabti, who are deployed a little farther forward, just to provide a little bit longer time firing away. I mean, they don't really have that many bad targets for them to be shooting at, really. I guess the only bad target would probably be the Skink Skirmishers. I mean, the Ripterdactyls can dodge the shots fairly well, so they probably want to avoid that, but the Screaming Skull doing a lot of work to the Soros Warriors on its first volley. And we'll see if that, how well they're able to close the gap without taking too much undue shots. Though they do have a fairly quick and a nice Hand of the Gods, making pretty good connection to the Lich Priest of Light, and it looks like a Net of Ammontok is probably going to be tried to going down, and it does look like it pulls back before that spell does go off. Actually, no, and there is that net as it pins in that Feral Carnosaur to allow for those Ushabti to just pretty much fire at it point blank. I think it should be able to do hold off at least fairly decently, but now the Skink Skirmishers are starting to pepper in, and in comes the Ripterdactyl Riders on top of those Ushabti. They don't have a whole lot of support right now. These Spearmen, I mean, Cetra and these Spearmen are starting to come in, but they should be able to get a decent amount of damage and shut them down for at least the time being. These other Ripterdactyl Riders are getting a little stuck in with the Nehekran Horsemen, although they at least are shutting down the Ushabti for the time being. But now the infantry are starting to engage, and the infantry of the Lizardmen will win all of these engagements as long as they aren't being supported by Cetra or any of the other Ushabti. So where the Ushabti are present is going to be where the Tomb Kings are probably going to be able to prevail at least a little bit better, but with the addition of the Krokgar and the Feral Carnosaur, these Ushabti probably won't do a whole lot. They'll take quite a bit of damage, but it looks like the Feral Carnosaurs are aiming for that Screaming Skull, as the Screaming Skull is actually firing into a nice mass of units right now. The Umbral Tide get a little bit tied up, and a Net of Ammontok goes down on top of Krokgar as the Nehekran Horsemen and Ushabti are kind of whacking away at him, though he's tanking it fairly well. Tomb Guard on top of the Feral Carnosaur, well, it is trying to get into the Screaming Skull catapult, but the balance power is actually in the Lizardmen's advantage fairly significantly at this point, able to get through, shutting down those Ushabti with the Ripterdactyl Riders fairly well, and those nets really weren't able to punish the two Feral Carnosaurs quite enough. And now that the Umbral Tide is just opening up onto Cetra and these Nehekran Horsemen, with the Ripterdactyl Riders getting a nice surround off. As the first Feral Manicore does finally go down, there should be another summon still in the back pocket for Tex. So this little pocket over here with the Ushabti and these two Spearmen have been able to do a good amount of work to the Ripterdactyl Riders. They are going to be pulling out, at least for now, and the Feral Carnosaur is chasing after those Ushabti, but he's going to be pulling back as these Ushabti do kind of come in support. Krokgar is in a little bit of a tough spot right now. The Tomb Guard with halberds, though he is able to just pretty much just push forward without any real threats, and the Ripterdactyl Riders now finally shutting down those Screaming Skull catapults, as Cetra does pull out as he is running from Krokgar. But he did kind of run away from all of his supports, and now these Umbral Tide are like point blank range. I believe he is getting poisoned by these Skink Skirmishers, and yeah, I don't think Cetra is going to be doing so hot in that particular engagement. I think maybe, yeah, Tomb Kings may have gone a little too heavy in the range, not enough to protect them, as the Ripterdactyl Riders are going to be probably routing here fairly quickly, but they were able to take out those Screaming Skull catapults. Cetra is absolutely pinned in. The Ushabti summon coming in, trying to provide at least a little bit of mass to allow him to escape, but with the skink skirmishers firing in, nothing's going to be able to really pin in Krokar all too well. He is able to actually get away and get his leadership back, at least for the time being, but the Umbral Tide are still in range, and all it's going to take is a volley or two, and he will be going down pretty quickly. Necron Horseman is finally shutting down those skink skirmishers to stop that poison from slowing down Cetra any longer, but the frontline engagement still very healthy Soros Warriors, and the Shopti are still doing fairly well. The Great Bows are down, having used only a little bit of their ammo. And there is that volley from the Umbral Tide, well, just wrecking what Cetra had left. He is not crumbling yet, but he is very, very low, and Krokar is going to be hunting for him. I don't think that the Tomb Kings have what it takes to really kind of pull this one back. Necron Horsemen looking to shut down the Umbral Tide, though with how low they are, the Umbral Tide, I believe they do fire damage even with their melee attacks, so they're going to be doing some very good damage to the Necron Horsemen, and with the fire from the skink skirmishers into the rear, they should not be lasting all too long. And it looks like Cetra goes down, and that will be army losses for the Tomb Kings, and the Lizardmen will take it. So yeah, taking a look at what the after-battle report, I definitely think that the Tomb Kings probably went a little too heavy on the ranged. Having the 2 Shopti probably would have been good, but I think the Screaming Skull Catapult was maybe a little too much, and they didn't have enough to protect their critical units, or the Shopti, from getting overrun by like the Ripperdactyl Riders, or anything like that. I mean, and once the Soros Warriors got in combat, those Skeleton Spearmen weren't going to be able to put up a good fight against them, and they just didn't have enough to whittle them down enough before they engaged. But a very good match, and that will be our 4v4, or our 4 1v1s. So I'll update the score. So it is going to be 3-1 for RTK to lead things off as we go into the 2v2s. So we'll switch this up. So it will be Vicious Satsuma and Kafka versus Ludwig and Steve. So yeah, we are going to rehost. All right. All right, so I've rehosted. Oops, I didn't rehosted without spectator. Okay, now I've rehosted, so I'll open up these slots and allow everyone to head on in. So yeah, Satsuma, Kafka, Ludwig, and Steve hop on in, and then we get Pacifist, and we'll see how things run for that. Yeah, the last match ran, I don't think there's any issues with that, with having 2 extra spectators in, although we'll see how the 2v2s work, so we'll see how, yeah, if the 2v2s work all right, we'll probably run with it for the 3v3. Might have to just say have just Pacifist in there, because I think 9 people might be a little too much to have into one match. Hey, Zeka style. No comment. Yeah, with Norska, pretty much have to hope that they don't do what they did, go full skirmish on that. I mean, even had I gone with skirmish, I don't think horse masters or even the horse masters would have been able to compete against that. A horseman would have gotten torn to shreds. They do not do well against pistoliers, or especially outriders. Let's see. All right, so now we got everybody all into the match, and we also should get a switch over to the scene. And we'll also pull up the next map, which will be Languil. Yeah, Chaos and High Elves. I know that Skaven and Dark Elves do work fairly well together for 2v2s, though Chaos and High Elves, I'm not really sure about the synergy too much with that. I mean, when both sides have, like, I mean, you have the very good infantry for Chaos, while I guess the elite stuff for the High Elves are more geared towards anti-large. So you can bring some, like, maybe Chaos Warriors, and then you mix them in with either Sylvan Guard, just regular Spearmen. And, I mean, this Chaos has decent skirmishing as well, but I mean, even the High Elves have good skirmishing, so they're pretty much overlap a lot in terms of their strengths. And both sides have fairly strong lords. Though I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Kolek here. Though, actually, no, probably wouldn't see Kolek, not with the firepower that the Skaven can be bringing. Oh, right, I forgot that it is 10k. So, alright. The mic there. Sorry about that. Yeah, for the we can go over the rules as well for the 2v2s and 3v3s, just so everyone is familiar with that. So for the 2v2s, so it's pretty much you follow the same banner rules as the 1v1s, but in addition to that, it is 10,000 funds. You can have a max of 3 heroes per team with no duplicate named characters, max of 3 summoning spells and abilities per team, max of 1 net and spell ability per team, which includes the 60% slow, so things like Mither, and you have to have a minimum of 600 models per team as well. And that's pretty much all the changes from the normal 1v1 matchups. Alright, so yeah, so for the first 4 matches, the score is at 3-1, but now each of these next 2 matches are going to be worth 2 points apiece. So yeah, if BBB is able to win even one of these 2v2 matchups, then the series will end up being decided in the 3v3 match. I could definitely see the High Elves, though, bringing a lot of bolt throwers, for instance, and looking to shut down the artillery of the Skaven with that, although the Dark Elves can also bring bolt throwers, which are pretty much equivalent to each other. And I think Ludwig will probably avoid bringing a Hell Cannon, though he could prove me wrong there. I think with the threat that the Warp Lightning Cannons and Bolt Throwers can have against it, I don't think we'll likely see that particular piece on the field. Alright, so hopefully people have their armies selected pretty quick here, and then we'll be able to get underway and kind of do a little stress test to see if having this many people in the match is going to be a bit of a problem for the future matches. Check to see if everyone's almost ready, and yeah, hopefully again, I'll be starting fairly soon for this first 2v2 match. Of course, we have Kafka and Delicious Satsuma, or I guess Vicious Satsuma, is what he's known by, as the Dark Elves and Skaven, and Ludwig and Steve as the Chaos and High Elf duo. Looks like we have RTK is all readied up. I'll just be waiting on Ludwig and Steve. Alright, looks like BBB is also ready. Just need to ready on up. Alright, Steve says he's ready, so as soon as he readies up, we are going to get underway. And there we are. So yeah, we'll see how long it takes to load in. It should be a good, I guess, benchmark for kind of how the match will run. Hopefully everyone was able to get their settings a little lower, so hopefully we don't have any individuals lagging too much with whatever PC that they're going to be using. Hey Jarl, welcome to the stream. So yeah, this is the RTK versus BBB clan war. So you joined us at our first 2v2 match of the day. So far there's been 4 1v1s, RTK taken 3 of those matches. Alright, so that actually wasn't as bad as I maybe expected for the load time. So I should be doing fairly well. So let's go over the Skaven and Dark Elves first. So we have Skaven slaves for the, which I assume will be the front line. 5 of those. We do have the Council Guard, always a very good pick, especially considering you're going to be seeing some maybe monstrous units on both sides. We have a couple rat ogres as well, and we do have a plague priest, and Deathmaster is going to be the lord. So the Deathmaster is going to be bringing slippery cloak of shadows, a nice -9 to defense and -4 to leadership. We have the concealment bombs and the Deathmaster sigil, and he is going to be flanked with another assassin, and he is going to be bringing probably rival hog talisman, yep, assassin's trophy and more concealment bombs. And the Plague Priest is going to be bringing Pestilent Breath, and he's going to bring Vermintide, Pestilent Birth, getting some Plague Month summons as well, Scrying Stone, and he should have his Mortis Engine effect as well, Billowing Death. That should be all for the Skaven line. Oh, and there is also going to be a Warp Lightning Cannon and the Poison Wind Mortars to help chew through those infantries that they'll be coming their way. And for the Dark Elves, we have some Dread Spears backing up those Skaven slaves. We have a couple Reaper Bolt Throwers to help fire down from range against any potential artillery pieces or any of the cavalry units as well. We have Sisters of Singing Doom and a regular Witch Elves unit to help get things either rampage and get them into non-ideal engagements. And then for the mobility department, we have some Cold One Knights. We have some Scourge Runner Chariots as well. And if we can find the Dark Elf Lord on there, we also have Marathi is going to be bringing her debuff. So it's looking to be a bit more of a infantry grind once things get underway to help debuff all of those enemy infantry. And we have a Death Hag to provide additional debuffs as well. Take a quick little look at her kit. Going to be bringing Chill Blade, so that -5 melee attack and -12 to speed. But that should be everything for the Skaven and Dark Elf duo. And now for Chaos and the High Elves, a very unlikely pairing. We have Archaon, the Ever-Chosen on horseback, going to be bringing Fireball, Burning Head, and it looks that is Searing Doom, I believe. Oh, Piercing Bolts of Burning. Yeah, Searing Doom is Lore of Metal. That's right. So we have, for the rest of the Chaos units, we do have a line of Chaos Marauders in the front line, and we have 2 Forsaken units, which are actually very good against the Skaven infantry. They really chew through that chaff very well. And then we have some Chaos Spawn behind them, so for a bit of a spawn rush, at least for what the Chaos units have brought. And we have, it looks like a very noble, or mobile, there is a noble, but a very mobile high elf force in terms of, we have silver helms, 4 of those. We have 2 Illyrian Reaver archers. Yeah, noble on his chariot. We have Alariel the Radiant providing some very nice heals to those cavalry units. And then on the other flank, we do have a couple of rangers off into the forest. And we do have some more units way in the back, actually just some Chaos Warhounds. Maybe hoping to get into some forgotten units, help chase things off. But that's going to be pretty much it for these 2 armies. We have a couple more Marauder Horsemen as well to assist in that mobility, but the front line is going to be solely on the back of the Chaos Infantry. And I don't know if they generally have enough that's going to be able to push through. I think the High Elves are really going to have a lot of work to do to make sure that things get whittled down. Because, yeah, the frontline engagement, I think, would definitely go the way of Dark Elves and Skaven, especially with the Plague Priest, with Marathi, and the Death Hag. I just think that's going to be pretty hard for them to break through, even with a Chaos Spawn Rush. So, start, win, ready. Yeah, I think Archaon is going to also kind of be a little careful with the Deathmaster and that Assassin. He is very, very good duelist, but against those 2 Assassin characters, he may have his work cut out to him. Now, the Warp Lightning Cannon opening up, doing some very good damage to the Marauder Horsemen, already getting them down to 37 from 45. And the Scourge Runners also plucking away, taking off some more models as it continues to fire in. Nothing should be able to... I mean, you have the Illyrian Reaver Archers are a long way from home, able to... They're not going to be able to catch those Scourge Runners very easily, and they'll just be able to fire away. And yeah, they don't have that one that's very fast, but we do have some Chaos Warhounds coming into the back, and it doesn't look like the Skaven or the Dark Elves really see them, as they're going to get some nice charge off onto the back of these Reaper Bolt Throwers, and there isn't any response just yet. We do have some of the Skaven Slaves kind of peeling off, but those Reaper Bolt Throwers just took so much damage. They are already going to be... they are routing, just as the Cold One Knights are able to get in. They might be able to salvage that crew if they're able to keep them in, but it looks like those Warhounds are trying to get in. I think they might be getting a little greedy, as they are trying to get onto the Poison Wind Mortars, but yeah, now we have the Rat Ogres, and everything else is just collapsing on them. We do have a Banishment coming in on top of these Witch Elves. But here are the front line. The 2 Rangers have taken a ton of damage, and the Skaven Slaves will probably even be able to hold them off fairly well, even though Rangers do very well against breaking through those chaff infantry. But with the addition of that Plague Priest, I think they'll be routing fairly quickly. The Reaper Bolt Throwers have come back, but here comes the Marauder Horsemen looking to make sure that they don't. I think if these Cold One Knights need to respond, and that just one volley from these Marauder Horsemen is able to rout them again. So that unit is going to be gone. A Burning Head ripping through some of these Helibroni, doing a decent amount of damage, but then otherwise it kind of peeled away from that other engagement. Forsaken getting in there. They will do very well in this engagement, but with the addition of the Scourge Runner and the Death Hag, maybe not so much. But here comes the Chaos Spawn breaking through that front line. That Plague Priest does need to get into this middle engagement to really assist that, as those Chaos Spawn are putting a lot of pressure, and the mobility from the High Elves is also putting in quite a bit. The burning, or the Fire Spell missing those Hellbrony fairly considerably. I don't think it landed a single shot. The Warp Lightning Cannon still firing away. Looks like they are targeting Archaon, but there isn't a whole lot of support left for them. I think these Marauder Horsemen are getting into these Poison Wind Mortars, and these Silver Helms are going to be quickly collapsing as well. Balance Power is in the Skaven and Dark Elf favor right now, but I think that they are getting overwhelmed pretty considerably right now, and unless the Dark Elf mobility is able to kind of collapse on the units that are putting pressure, we do have the Council Guard able to screen out the Silver Helms from the Poison Wind Mortars. But here is a Star of Avalorn going down, healing up these Marauder Horsemen, though there isn't a whole lot of other targets for them right now. I don't know if the Chaos Spawn are even in that circle right now, so I think that was a wasted star right there. I think that definitely needed to be saved for Archaon and Alariel with the Noble. But it looks like the front line is actually starting to stabilize a bit for the Dark Elves and the Skaven, though a lot of the Skaven units are getting kind of a bit overwhelmed. Some Plaguemon Summons is being dropped here. It looks like some of the Witch Elves were able to rampage the Silver Helms unit, as now the Dredge Spears are going to be able to get into the back of them, though that rampage has weared off, so they might be able to pull out if they get on top of it quickly. And it looks like we have a Soul Stealer is going to be going down on this middle of all of these units, hitting Forsaken, Archaon, the Chaos Spawn, and those Chaos Marauders. So I think the infantry is starting to pull out here for the Dark Elves and Skaven as the balance of power is shifting more and more in their favor. And I think the assault from the Chaos and the mobility of the High Elves is slowly wearing out. They weren't able to finish off the key units, such as the Warp Lightning Cannon, and the Reaper Bolt Throwers and the Poison Wind Mortars are still alive. So that initial charge just wasn't quite enough to be able to break them down quickly enough, and it allowed them for all these spears and the Cold One Knights to kind of circle in and get onto the targets that they need. But now the Poison Wind Mortars are finally getting routed off by Alariel and the Noble. So the Plague Priest is doing a very good work, and if we have the Assassin here, it looks like to be chasing down the Archaon, as it looks like Deathmaster was able to get some good damage off onto him earlier on. And here are the Council Guard looking to muck things up even more. Very strong, unbreakable unit, especially in at this time in the match, where they're not going to be able to get broken down to allow for the High Elf mobility to get into the key targets right now, as the Deathmaster and Assassin are just absolutely taken down this Noble very, very quickly with the assistance of the Rat Ogres and that Plague Priest. And now that Alariel is rampaged, I think if these two Assassins could just peel over, would be able to quickly deal with her in turn. I think that is going to be it for the High Elf and Chaos matchup, as despite the pretty much all the chaos that happened in this matchup, they particularly, I think, the Dark Elf units, with the addition of the Skaven summons and some of their ranged units, were just able to hold on long enough and punish those charges with very good efficiency. And I think the only thing left right now is going to be these Chaos Spawn. It looks like we get a little bit lag at the end, but otherwise I think things went fairly well. And yeah, now the Chaos Spawn, I think it is just that one unit, and that, I think, is it. And RTK will take that first 2v2. So yeah, take a quick look at what we have here. So they had the Silver Helms, I think, got some initial good charges, but they weren't able to get out of those engagements quickly enough before they were punished for them. I think they had some more cycle charging would have been needed indeed for those High Elf units. And we look at the Charge of Chaos, which actually did a very good job of breaking down the front line of the Skaven and Dark Elves, though I think they just didn't have enough steam in that late game to kind of really push through. Warhounds actually did this unit right here, especially, just absolutely deleted one of the Reaper Bolt Throwers. And if we look at the Skaven, who, I mean, despite all these Skaven slaves, they really didn't take all that many losses. They did, I mean, Warp Lightning Cannon doing a lot of work to the mobility of the High Elves. And if you look at the Dark Elves, I think the two Sisters of Singing Doom and even the Cold One Knights able to pin in and damage those Silver Helms at the right time. And I think, yeah, the Scourge Runner Chariots as well. Their shots, they pretty much used up all their ammo, and they do very well against other skirmish cav. Not a whole lot can catch them, and even if they do get caught, they have a fair amount of mass to be able to pull out on. But that will be our match. And it looks like we have Prussian Prince already in for the next round. So this next match will be on Cliff of Beasts. And we'll also update the scorecard as well. So that'll be 2 more points. So that puts RTK at 5. But as long as BBB can win this next match, it's going to be a moot point anyways, because then it will be decided by the 3v3. But the combo that RTK is bringing is a very, very dangerous combo with the Dwarves and Bretonia. So just a little reminder as well of what we have for the lineup. We do have Majutsu and Prussian Prince with the Dwarves and Bretonia, and Valverde and Coma White bringing the Lizardmen and Norska. So we're expecting a bit more of a rush from Norska and the Lizardmen, though you do have the Solar Bastildons for a little bit more range. I don't know if that's going to be the best choice here because just the cannons and firepower will be able to damage them fairly well. So we'll switch on back on over to our lobby. All right, so everyone is all here. Even with all of our extra spectators, that last match went very smoothly. I think the only lag that I noticed was at the very, very end. So we should be able to continue just fine. Yeah, these Bretonnian dwarf matchup, or combo, I should say. You have the dwarf, nice. They have good infantry, very good ranged. And then you pair that in with a little bit of chaff from Bretonnia, and then Bretonnian's very, very strong cavalry units. Pretty much eliminates any mobility potential from any other faction when Bretonnia can go very, very heavy in the mobility department. Yes, the dog, and that also will probably benefit us here because, yeah, right now we have 2v2, so we got 4 players in, each with 10k funds, and we have 3 spectators as well. Myself, we have Battleborn, and Pacifist Warlord. So Pacifist is having his own stream. It is in Spanish for those. Oh, right, and yes, the map is Cliff Priest. Alright, so it looks like at least some of BB is ready to go, and I'm pretty sure Majutsu and Prussian Prince have a very good combo figured out. So it looks like both of them are ready. I think we're just waiting on Malverde. And it looks like he is set as well. So let's roll on into the second 2v2 matchup. Alright. So we gotta wait for Battleborn to come on back. And we'll get this underway as soon as he has returned. Alright, so it looks like, I think someone is here. So, okay, so Battleborn has returned, so we are set and ready to go. Alright, so should probably take another minute or so before everyone is all loaded in. I think last time was just a little bit, it was around a minute and a half, I think, until everyone got in. Alright, it looks like everyone is loaded in, so we will go over the armies starting with the Dwarves and Bretonnians. So we do have triple or double cannons. We have some Thunderers mixed in as well. We have a couple unit of Slayers, one of which being the Dragonback Slayers. We have 2 Longbeards, and it looks like 5 Dwarf Warriors. We have a couple Miners with blasting charges, and we are being led by a Rune Lord, and the Rune Lord is going to be bringing, just looks like the Masked Rune of Wrath and Ruin. And then if we look at what the Bretonnians have brought, they have brought very heavy cavalry. So they have Questing Knights, 2 Knights of the Realm. We have a Knights Errant, or 4 Knights of the Realm, and 3 Knights Errant with 1 Questing Knight. So very heavy mobility, and I don't think that the other side can bring anything that can even remotely match that. And they do have 4 peasant mobs to provide a little bit of chaff infantry for that front line, as well as 2 peasant bowmen with pox arrows to allow for that poison damage to be applied. We have a Damsel of Life, and we are going to be seeing King Leoncoeur as well, and he's going to be bringing the Ladies Champion for his regen and just the blessing of the lady. So we are not going to be seeing the Sword of Corone. And now for Norska and the Lizardmen. So we do have a line of Marauders for Norska, backed up by a couple Marauder Berserkers. We do have a Feral Manticore up in the sky, and we have a Fimir Balefine of Shadows going to be bringing Pendulum, and I believe that is, yeah, Melkoth, Smithsflying Miasma to provide a little bit of reduction to speed, probably for the most part. And we do have 2 Fimir Warriors with great weapons, which are very good against the Cav of Bretonnia. That is, I mean, Norska generally play very well against Bretonnians. And we do have a Feral Dreads, or just a regular Dreadsaurian. We have Wulfric the Wanderer as well, bringing Seafang and Hunter of Champions. And we have a Bastiladon with Revivification Crystal, actually, to provide a little bit of heal for those units. And a Slann Mage Priest of Life to provide additional healing. So I don't know about that then. The Revivification Crystal on top of the Slann Mage, I don't know if they just don't think they have enough magic to deal with all that, but he is going to be bringing Earthblood, Regrowth, Shield of the Old Ones, and of course his Bound Banishment. Frontline for the Lizardmen is going to be some Red-Crested Skinks, and we're going to see, yeah, just 4 Red-Crested Skinks, and that is it for the Lizardmen. And they do have a bit of Vanguard. We have 3 Pterodon Riders as well. Not a whole lot to respond to those. We have only 1 Thunderer unit, and the 2 cannons, not really going to be the best choice to be shooting at the Pterodons, though the Thunderer will do fairly decently, though against 3 of them, probably not as much. It's definitely going with the big monsters for Norska and Lizardmen, Dreadsaurian, Wulfric, and the Bastiladon. But that should be everything for both armies. And yeah, we are all ready to go. So start when ready. Yeah, Dressorian and Mammoth do have a ton of HP. However, I mean, Regrowth does a ton. And I mean, Vivification Crystal, I guess, can provide a little bit of leeway for the winds of magic. But the Slans have so much winds, in general. But I am wondering if this Norscan and Lizardmen infantry is going to be enough to deal with all of the cav. I mean, you have the two Fimir warriors with great weapons will absolutely win in an engagement with any of the cav units, but against all of that, well, there's 7 different heavy cav units. That's going to probably be a little too much to deal with the Fimir warriors, though I think Wulfric and the Feral Dreadsarian will be able to do very well on top of that in assistance in those cav engagements. So I think it's just going to have to be a little bit of patience by the Bretonnian forces just to get the correct engagements and stay away from the heavy hitters from Norska. But I think the cannons themselves are just going to be doing so much work on the approach. But here are those Pterodon Riders are coming in. A few shots from the Piston Bowman, getting a little bit of poison on top of them. And their leadership is down to half already, though that should be able to sustain that. But if these Thunderers, which are responding, are going to turn, and a good play by Bretonnian actually getting their Knights Errant and Knights of the Realm on top of the cannons. That was actually a fantastic play right there, making sure that these Pterodon Riders can't dive down on top of them and providing a little bit of shields for those missile shots coming in. And one of the Pterodon Riders already is routing, as we do have King Lewin is up in the sky, so I don't think any of the other Pterodon Riders are going to want to tangle with him. And a lot of damage already down to 5 models. If it does come back, a rock drop probably coming into the middle of all these units. Bretonnian is trying to pull out to avoid that damage. That doesn't look like that rock drop got off, as King Lewin was just in time to disrupt that engagement. Though here is the Dreadsorian, who has just lost a ton of health on the approach. Those cannons just singing and doing so much work. And here comes the mobility, looking to take apart these this advanced piecemeal. The Feral Manticore does drop down on top, trying to provide a little bit of a block from their charge. And it is enough to deter them from running away. The shield of the old one is down, but the Dreadsarian routing the wrong way. He is routing through the units, and these Slayers are probably going to be right on top of him. A nice banishment, just taking off a good chunk of those Thunderers, and a Sea Fang in combination with that. But King Lewin will make sure that that Dreadsarian does not return. There is nothing quick enough to be able to pull him back. And that is going to be a major loss for the Lizardmen and Norscan forces, as now Wulfric is getting caught out by these Knights of the Realm. He has these Dwarf Warriors he's trying to pull through, but I mean, you have these Slayers all around, but they look like they are targeting that Slan, who is a little bit ahead of himself. And I think, the Slayers are pretty much, if they stay healthy, there's going to be a bit of a problem for them to deal with the Lizardmen and Norscans are going to have a bit of a problem dealing with them. And Lewin is just continuing to hound that Dreadsarian, and the Pterodon Riders, that Manticore, it just isn't going to be enough. That Manticore probably should at least try to pull off King Lewin, though he have these Knights Errant coming in to support. And most of the Dwarven infantry is pretty much kind of sitting back right now. Not a whole lot able, but here comes a nice pendulum, though Prussian Prince is on top of it, able to pull out his Dwarf Warriors and Miners to avoid it. A very hard spell to normally dodge. And here is the Feral Manticore with the Pterodon Riders finally getting onto the cannons and stopping them from fire. The Rune Lord, if that Feral Manticore does turn on that Rune Lord can go down fairly quickly. But those Pterodon Riders do pay the price, and they are shattered from that engagement as the fire from these peasant bowmen just focus that down, and the cannon crew are able to survive. Though the Dreadsarian has returned, though there is a lot of forces converging on its location. We have Knights of the Realm, we have Slayers as well, and it is able to rout one of the units of Knights Errant. But with King Lewin and these Slayers, it's probably going to be routing again, though a Great Shield, the old one, does go down, trying to save it, as it does have a regrowth going down, just a regular cast, so it's going to get 1400 health, so I think that regrowth on top of the shield of the old ones is enough to stabilize it, just enough for it to be able to pull out. Though I think if these cannons, which are back online, are now going to be turning, but the Feral Manicore does get on top of it, so that is very good for that Dreadsaurian, keeping those cannons from firing in. But here comes those Longbeards to try and pull it back. One of the cannons still firing in. Looks like it is targeting Wulfric for the time being. Some more units cleaning up shop in the rear. And we take a look at the Fimir. The Fimir are in the midst of the battle right now, dealing with the Dwarf Warriors. They do have very good armor-piercing values, though we also have the Dragonback Slayers mixed in as well, and they'll do well against Fimir and that Bastillodon. And here is that Dreadsaurian back into the fight, dealing with that Damsel of Life. The Damsel of Life is routing right now. Pterodon Riders probably should, at least one of them should peel off to make sure that doesn't come back, but there goes the Dreadsaurian once again. And it is very, very low on health. If we take a quick look, it is at 580 health and dropping. I don't think, I mean, one or two hits from King Lewin, and I think that'll be enough to seal its doom. As here comes Wulfric charging in to the middle of the engagement, but he is wavering as well. Slann Mage Priest has regained a bit of his health, but now the Norskins and Lizardmen forces are just getting completely surrounded by the cav of the Bretonnians. Wulfric goes down, Dreadsaurian is down, and that is probably going to spell the end, as that Fimir or Balefiend is stuck in the middle, getting absolutely beaten on, and that will be army losses, and that Dwarven and Bretonnian force will take it. And there should be, okay, and that is it. Not sure what unit was still kicking, but RTK will take the second 2v2 and clinch the series, though we will still be playing that 3v3. Alright, so we take a look at what everyone has brought and how they performed. Definitely the mobility from the Bretonnians allowed them to chase off anything that routed. There was the Feral Manicore from the Norskins, which actually got onto some good units. Was able to shut down the cannons for a while. Wulfric getting a lot of kills. Of course, a lot of kills on peasants isn't always the best, but I think, yeah, just the firepower from the cannons of the dwarves, which just absolutely chewed through that Dreadsaurian earlier on in the match. And some of these infantry units didn't see a whole lot of fight, and a lot of the fighting was done with the Bretonnian cavalry and just allowing those cannons to fire in. But yeah, that is our second 2v2. So we can get our next 3v3 loaded in. So we do have, yeah, GG, well played. I think most of them have dropped out. So we'll open up some spots. Why can't I? Are we at our max for? We might be at our max, because I can't even open up if I drop down. Huh. I can't add another spot. Hey, Rubberduck, welcome to the stream. You're just in time for the last match, which is going to be a 3v3. Okay, so I think Battleborn might have to drop out so we can get this in. Though, okay, so there we go, now I can drop it. Okay, so for some reason I couldn't, even though we only had 2 of 3, I couldn't drop it down. So now we have all 3 spots. Okay, so we have Malverde, Ludwig, and I want to say it was Steve for the next one. Yeah, so Steve will be Skaven, and so this will be on Peak Pass. So yeah, this is going to be quite the stress test on everyone's computer here, seeing if we have this many spectators and players involved. But otherwise, yeah, so going over what everyone has brought, we have, yeah, the Edgy Tree Girl, so that is Silly. She's going to be commanding the Empire. We have Wicked Pirate leading his Vampire Coast, and Maijutsu is going to be leading the Wood Elves for RTK. Malverde is going to be leading Coast, and we have Steve with Skaven, and Ludwig will be having the Bretonians for BBB. So I should also update the scorecard. Yep, so it is MP Peak Pass. Yep, J Phoenix just updated the score. So yeah, for the builds here, I mean, you're definitely going to be expecting to see a lot of mobility from the Bretonians, and the Empire are probably going to be what you see there. You might see as well as some Wild Riders from the Wood Elves. Though I think you're definitely going to be seeing a bit more invested into Way Watchers. Though if you are going up against a Coast and Skaven combo, you're probably going to be expecting to see a lot of ranged firepower in that regard. Either Necrofexes, or you're going to be seeing Warp Lightning Cannons and regular cannons for the Coast. Even mortars mixed in against some of the lower armored stuff that you'll be seeing. Probably seeing a bit more on the mortar side, as you can see a lot of zombies. I mean, just the normal troops of the Empire and even the Wood Elf troops don't really have that much high armor. But you will be seeing a lot of calves, so that's why you'll probably be seeing some cannons, Necrofexes from the Empire. Probably be seeing a lot of Demigrif Knights as well, and you're probably seeing Knights Errant, Questing Knights, Knights of the Realm, that whole collection of the Bretonian heavy cav. So I think we have... Okay, so Pacifist is back. Move that back up there. Alright, so it looks like we have most of RTK has readied up. All right, yeah, go over. I think there's just a few changes to the 3v3 rule set. In addition, I mean, the only real difference here is you can have a max of 4 heroes instead of 3 versus the 2v2 rules, and you have to have a minimum of 750 models per team instead of the 600 from the 2v2. That is going to be pretty much all the change for that. All right, looks like BBB is starting to ready up as well. I was waiting on Steve, and I think all of RTK is ready. Wicked Pirate might be making some adjustments. I know Manjutsu and Silly had been able to have been readied up in the past. And all right, now Wicked is also readied up, so we'll be loading on in. See how long this takes, but I should be fairly stable. Everything has been going well so far. All right, so I will be right back as things load in. All right, so it looks like we are all loaded in. Get that back up and we can start going over the builds real quick. Hopefully they weren't in for too long. We do have the Sunmaker, a repeat appearance from the last 3v3. We do have some great cannons as well, 2 units of those from the Empire. For the rest of the troops, we have some spearmen, and we have a unit of Demigrif Knights, couple of those, and the Lord is going to be Boris Toddbringer and a Bright Wizard. Boris just going to be on his horseback here, providing a little assistance for his cavalry forces. And I think that, and we do have some more units, but I think that is it for the Empire. For the Vampire Coast, we have just a front line of zombie pirate deckhand mobs. And we have 5 bombers behind them, with even another zombie pirate gunnery mobs behind them. Just the regular pistol variant, no handguns on the field. Though we do have 2 deck droppers up in the sky. And we also have a couple gunnery wights to make sure everything has plenty of ammo. And Count Noctilus will be rocking the leadership department, bringing Wraithstorm, Raised Dead, and Invocation with Captain's Wrath Moondial. And for the Wood Elves, we are going to be seeing a couple of Eternal Guards kind of protecting the flanks. We have some Dryads protecting the Sunmaker as well. And for the rest of them, we have, it looks like, probably 3 units of Way Watchers and a couple more Eternal Guard on the far flank, all up with the Glade Lord with Prey of Anathrema and the Arrows of Kurnus. So that will be the RTK forces. And if we swing on over to what BBB has brought, we have kind of a petitioned deployment by the looks of things. We do have a front line of peasant mobs for the Bretonnians, and backed by spearmen at arms and men at arms. Actually a fairly decent combo to help get through the zombie chaff in the front line, as long as they're able to avoid all of that bomber fire. Though we do have 3 Warp Lightning cannons backed by Skaven slave spears, with rat ogres as well protecting them, so not a whole lot is going to be able to get into those units with that kind of protection. We do have Lord Skrulk as well, kind of providing a little bit of leadership buffs, and he is going to be bringing the Pestilent Breath. He's bringing Vermintide, Pestilent Birth, Stand Your Ground, Rod of Corruption, and Lyra Bubanicus. Pretty standard kit, so it looks like some of the Vampire Coast units are starting to get mixed in with things. We do have 4 units of Clan Rats as well. It looks like the front line is going to be the Peasant Mobs in terms of Chaff Infantry. Let's see, what else do we have? We have some Skaven Slave Spears, kind of providing a little bit of scouting. That's pretty much all they're going to be doing if they are going to be staying in that deployment. And in the back, we have some... Okay, so for Bretonnians, we have, for mobility, Questing Knights, Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis, Knights Errant unit, another unit of Knights of the Realm, another Knights Errant, and Questing Knights, and more Knights of the Realm. So just a very wide range, going a little bit heavier than the Empire in terms of mobility and cavalry. Demigrif Knights, as long as they're not getting too overwhelmed, should be able to hold that line fairly well. So now, if we are going to be looking at what Coast has brought for BBB, we have zombie pirate gunnery mobs with some bombers mixed in as well. We have some Shade Wraith gunners. We'll see how well they're able to do, as long there's not a whole lot of sources. I mean, the Arrows of Kurnus probably not going to be, they're not going to be targeting them. You do have a Fire Mage who would absolutely roast them if he gets too close. We also have some Mourngulls mixed in here as well, and the Lord is going to be Count Noctilus, but he's only going to be on foot for the Vampire Coast. He is going to be bringing pretty much the same kit as Wicked, but he is not going to be on his Necrofax, just on foot. It looks like he's going to be bringing pretty much all, the handguns and the deck gunners. So yeah, bombers, handguns here. And we actually, so there is 1 unit of mortars hidden amongst the trees, but I don't see anything else in terms of very heavy ranged fire. We do like a little swing through the units, so we do have some peasant mobs mixed in, some more bombers in the back line, more handgunners, and we do have a assassin as well, rival High Talisman, the Assassin's Trophy, and that is it for that unit. Otherwise, yeah, things are getting mixed in. I think RTK is ready. It doesn't look like Malverde is quite set yet, getting his troops deployed into all of the other units. Yeah, it definitely looks like Malverde, though, is a little bit more focused on his right flank, while the Skaven and Bretonnians are mixed in the middle, though I think he still might be kind of throwing things in. But it looks like he is readied up. Okay, so yeah, Malverde will be staying on that right flank while the rest of the units are more integrated. Warp Lightning cannons versus the cannons of the Empire. There is this hill, so I don't know if either one is going to have a good line of sight to the other. And we're going to be seeing which side decides to move forward first. It looks like the Bretonnians, or the BBB forces, it looks like they were moving slightly. And we'll see if the Skaven and Vampire Coast factions are going to follow suit and move up with them. Otherwise, yeah, we just have some Skaven slaves kind of spotting in the tree line to prevent any shenanigans sneaking up on them. The mobility of the Bretonnians were pretty much deployed all in the back, and we do have, I believe, the Fey Enchantress. So we have the Fey Enchantress as the Lord as well, bringing Regrowth and Earthblood. So it looks like they're pretty much just checking for any Vanguard deployments, and they are now going to be probably moving up to assist the main battle. Actually, these deck droppers are going to have a bit of free range at the moment. You do have the Warp Lightning Cannons, but there's nothing else on this left flank for BBB to really contest the air right now against those deck droppers, and they're just going to be able to shoot at whatever they want to right now. We do have some handguns starting to move to assist. They still are, they're getting close to range, but right now these just the deck droppers are going to be firing in to the assassin, not doing really any damage right now, missing all of their shots. As soon as these handguns start to open up, they probably will want to pull out and just kind of just take their shots where they can. And now the Warp Lightning Cannons are starting to open up, though it looks like a few shots just hitting the hill, and I think they were trying to target the Glade Lord. Shots going low and high. And in comes another volley, raining in, this time targeting the Great Cannons, connecting a little bit, but not taking out any of the models. And we'll see if those are the shots. An arrow to Kurnus firing in. Looks like it was targeting one of the Warp Lightning Cannons, though it did fail to take it out, as well as the cannons are focusing down this one Warp Lightning Cannon. All artillery pieces are still on the board for the time being. Handguns opening up into these deck droppers as they try to shoot down Lord Scrope, but those deck droppers really just not doing a whole lot. I mean, the handgun variant probably would have been doing a bit more damage, but yeah, those deck droppers are good skirmishing potential, has good skirmishing tool. More shots raining in, hitting the hill once again, trying to take out that Great Cannon. More shots raining in. Crew taking some damage, but the artillery pieces still on the line and firing. Looks like things are a little on the slower side. Looks like at least one of the Warp Lightning Cannons has dropped. Looks like both cannons are targeting this, and another Arrows of Kurnus is going to be arcing in, or is going to be a Fireball from the Bright Wizard. Yeah, I don't think the Arrows of Kurnus are quite off of cooldown. Another one drops, so we'll see actually if that Fireball, where it targets. So that is actually a little bit unfortunate. That Fireball was targeting this left artillery piece, but as it was casted, it dropped. It had been taken out, and then it didn't redirect its path to the rest of the unit. It still kept its focus on that artillery piece. Though it looks like the focus fire from the two cannons is going to be able to take out at least this one unit. If we take a look on the far side, one Great Cannon has been dropped, and I think the focus fire from the cannons has been the way to go, as the mortars are now starting to rain down. As the Shade Wraith Gunner is trying to take a few shots into this Bright Wizard, who is pretty much just taking those shots to the face right now. I think he is trying to save up that magic for maybe another Fireball cast, trying to finish off. Well, one of the units has been finished off, so now it's just down to these two Warp Lightning Cannons. So far, the Warp Lightning Cannons have only taken out one. They've only taken out one Great Cannon, and the Great Cannons have taken out three in combination with the Bright Wizard, and another Fireball arcing in. The Warp Lightning Cannons do have less health than the Great Cannons, I believe. And here is another shot arcing in. And we'll see if it is able to find its way in. And it does connect, but it does not take it out. More shots raining into these cannons. Looks like it is down to just one Great Cannon. Looks like the RTK forces are starting to lose that artillery engagement, as some of the Bretonnian forces are starting to sneak around the left flank of RTK. Though they are still quite far from the engagement, just kind of waiting to see if they'll be getting an opening. So the Bright Wizard right now is pretty much just dodging the shots of these Shade Wraith Gunners, wasting that very precious ammo. I think the Shade Wraith Gunners need to turn off their fire, seeing that that Bright Wizard is actively trying to dodge its shots. So I think another fireball is going to be arcing in. This one, if it connects, it should take out at least one of the models. Actually, both of the cannons now have been, or at least one of the cannons has been routed. I don't know if it took out, and that fireball does miss that unit, so a little unlucky on those shots. But I think the mortar fire firing in to this great cannon, it still has all three of its units, but the mortar fire was able to rout the crew of it at least. So even if this great cannon does go down, the crew of that can switch over and start firing on this other cannon if that other crew does not come back. Though we have just an absolute barrage from the Sunmaker, wasting this unit of bombers and clipping the Shade Wraith Gunners a little bit, but just absolutely clearing out the chaff units. Although the Bright Wizard, I think that the Liber Buonicus going down on him, taking out a massive amount of HP, which is probably going to make him withdraw for the time being and avoid any of the shots coming in from the Warp Lightning cannons, and just really trying to avoid another Liber Buonicus. So far, it's just been a trade of artillery fire. For the most part, another massive volley from the Sunmaker, arcing in, just deleting all of this chaff, taking out that bomber unit. I think it'll be switching from bomber to bomber, trying to finish things off as best it can. But the mortar from the Vampire Coast on the BBB side is still arcing in. I think trying to target some of the bomber units as well. But I think now finally RTK has realized they are losing that artillery engagement and are going to be pushing forward with their troops. They have taken out at least one unit of the Warp Lightning cannons, although there is still 6 artillery pieces left. And here are the defenders of Fleur-de-Lis getting a nice rear charge off onto these Eternal Guard. I don't think they were turned around to brace, and they get a very, very good free damage there. But now the other Eternal Guards are going to start to respond, and here are the Demigrif Knights. Only a couple units right now, so if those Demigrif Knights are able to catch any of those cavalry, they will probably win in those engagements. If we look at the other side, some more units are starting to creep forward, but that is just some Skaven slaves. And now the mortar is being focused down by the Sunmaker, kind of mixed in with these bombers, so that's getting some nice, pretty much a 2 or 3 for 1 with those volleys from that Sunmaker. I think another 2 fires, volleys that are on point might be enough to break this mortar before it does any more damage to the advancing units. Oh, actually the Bright Wizard has been topped off completely from that Spellslinger of Life. A nice little regrowth getting him up to par. Some more shots making some very good connections. And I think those bombers might be crumbling right now, though that will probably take a very long time for them to actually completely crumble away. Though they are a ways out, so they might not even be able to get up into the engagement and get their shots off. Focused fire from these bombers, absolutely taking out about half health from these peasant mobs. The combination of Eternal Guard and even the zombie pirate with pole arms able to rout off one of these spearmen at arms. But here is a summon of Plague Monks actually getting into the back of the bombers, shutting them down, and they will make quick work of these bombers as long as they aren't too focused on those Gunnery Wights. Gunnery Wights, I mean, won't really take any undue damage from those Plague Monks, but we do have, it looks like a Burning Head is going to be trying to roast through these Plague Monks before they're able to do too much damage. Though it looks like they're going to be clipping their own bomber unit a bit. Though it should be enough to at least break that summon of Plague Monks and get those bombers free and firing once again. And then here comes the Burning Head, going to be going through their own bomber units a little bit, actually a lot of it, doing a lot of damage. And here is that frontline engagement as the bombers are going to absolutely have a field day firing into this mass of units. You do have a couple of Rat Ogres in here, so if we have some of those handgun mobs firing in, now might be a good time, but they are pulling back. Another unit of that Warp Lightning cannon has dropped. But the RTK left flank is pretty much unopposed right now, as a lot of the coast and Bretonnian mobility is still setting up on that hill. Trying to stay away from that Demigrif Knights, but the longer they wait, the less pressure that they're going to be able to put on these forces. And the bombers are pretty much free to fire, though here are the Way Watchers getting a little bit pressured by these Knights of the Realm. But the Demigrif Knights are in hot pursuit, and even if they do get a charge off right now, they'll be pinned into place by the Demigrif Knights and even that Glade Lord there. So they might be able to get some damage off onto at least one of the Way Watchers, but I'm pretty sure they will be routing in the end. A nice little Wraith Storm looks like it's dropping down onto Boris, or it was either dropping down, it might have been dropping onto Lord Scroll. Hard to say which. Noctilus was the one that casted that. But a lot, I mean, the balance of power is still very, very even. Maybe a one tick in the advantage of the RTK forces, but it is still anyone's game at this point. Lots of mobility left on the Bretonnians, and the Vampire Coast, led by Malverde, has all of its units pretty much up on this hill, getting some nice focus fire in from these handguns onto the Demigrif Knights, who are now getting pinned into place by these questing Knights and Knights Errant, and that is going to be very bad for them. The only good thing about this is those shots from the handguns might be clipping through some of the questing Knights as well, but they'll be dropping fairly quickly if they do not get either a heal or some support in the form of these Dryads and other Spearman units. So we have Lord Skroak with his Rod of Corruption. Not a whole lot of enemy units in the immediate vicinity of that cast, but we still have the Warp Lightning Cannons firing away. Actually, the Sunmaker still at full ammo, getting that help from those gunnery wights, and it is still at all 3 artillery pieces, and that is a massive threat on the field. The Great Cannons also back to firing, and Noctilus is waging his war against cavalry forces of the Bretonnians. And as you can see, all 3 of the Way Watchers have survived, one of which did take some damage, but yeah, the assistance of the Demigrif Knights and the Glade Lord was able to push back these questing Knights and Knights Errant. The deck dropper is finally getting onto those Warp Lightning Cannons, though the assistance of these Knights of the Realm will quickly pull them off, though we do have some zombie pirate gunnery mobs with pole arms also coming in to assist and hopefully shut those down as much as they can. Though Boris is in a bad spot right now. We have the Assassin, we have the Fey Enchantress, and I believe Lord Skroak is in there as well. So Boris is very, very much isolated, unless, I mean, some of the shots from that Sunmaker could absolutely punish this blob right here. But, I mean, Boris is routing right now, and we do have a Earthblood from the Bretonnians and another Burning Head. There should be an Empire cast raking through that mass of Skaven troops. I don't know if Boris is going to be able to come back from that. Wraithstorm going on top of that Bright Wizard. I mean, his fire magic is a very big threat, though he has used quite a few spells right now. He's used, I mean, multiple fireballs and at least 2 or 3 burning heads. Yeah, right now the Demigrif Knights, they do have a regrowth on them, so they are healing up. It was an overcasted regrowth, so they're going to be getting 2,000 HP left. They still have 9 models left. But now some of the Bretonnians are starting to get into the Glade Guard in the rear, and their target really should be this Sunmaker. And these Demigrif Knights need to turn around. They need to turn around right now. They have left that Sunmaker wide exposed, and that is such a critical piece to the RTK forces right now, because with those gunnery wights just keeping that ammo supplied, it does so much damage. Bombers firing in, or the mortars firing in. Really can't see where those shots are raining in, but they are raining in onto that Sunmaker as well. Otherwise, the front line, I mean, it is a mess everywhere you look. There is breaks coming in from the Bretonnians, while the Vampire Coast units are getting on top of the Warp Lightning Cannons. These Warp Lightning Cannon crew is completely gone. Shade Wraith Gunners still have quite a bit of ammo left. And if we take a look at what the Sunmaker still has all 3 of its units, and they have been able to at least salvage it for the time being. These Demigrif Knights, this was the unit that was initially sandwiched in. He's getting a little caught out by these Knights of the Realm, getting their charge off onto them. But this bomber unit from Malverde doesn't really have any immediate targets. I mean, actually, they should be turning and firing onto these Eternal Guard right now. And once again, the mortars are continuing to fire in onto the Sunmaker, and that is the target it needs to deal with. The Sunmaker is a massive threat right now with the, Empire and Wood Elf forces able to at least push off these Questing Knights for the time being, but I think the Bretonnians are starting to get a little bit of steam, breaking through the RTK right flank on a lot of fronts, getting past these Way Watchers, who are still at pretty much full ammo in all. And so they're getting lots of fires into some very high-value targets, but they are a little exposed right now. You do have some support in the terms of these Eternal Guard. Well, I guess there's nothing in the immediate vicinity that can pressure them. We do have some returning mobility forces in the Knights of the Realm, but the mortars just continuing to sing and have finally routed the Sunmaker's troops. So I think if the RTK forces are able to at least try and salvage that, I think they have some potential to get that thing back on, but it's taken so much damage. It's only down to 6 units, so I don't know if we'll even see that unit come back. If we take a look, the mortars, they've been doing very well, 118 kills so far, and we take a look at what the Sunmaker was able to do. Sunmaker, 349 kills on the match. Quite the MVP so far. But otherwise, yeah, it's just a complete mess of things. Lord Scroak, once again, with his Rod of Corruption, keeping those Shade Wraith Gunners free to fire, and the Deck Droppers are getting low on ammo, trying to take out Lord Scroak. I don't know if he's used his second Liber Bubonicus yet, but that could be a very powerful late-game thing, so to prevent that from happening, and he could very well have potentially already used it on that Right Wizard. But here are the remnants of the Bretonnian Cav coming in, though there is still one very healthy Demigrif Knight left, and that one Demigrif Knight should easily be able to handle these 3 units right here. So yeah, the Questing Knight, we have Knights of the Realm, and a Knights Errant. And with how low health they are, especially with these Questing Knights getting caught out by these spears, they should be able to wrap up those units at least for the time being. And the Right Wizard has come back, firing in more of its fireballs, targeting, it looks like, I'm not really sure what they were targeting. Maybe it was those bombers there, but the Count Noctilus still at full health, as is the Glade Lord with a full selection of ammo as well. I think that that Glade Lord could very well decide to target Lord Scroak. If he is staying close to these coast guns, he'll be very protected then, which he is sitting in there, so it prevents that Glade Lord or from these Deck Droppers from getting on top of him and getting the shots that they need. Though now the Fey Enchantress is isolated quite a bit, is engaged with the Spellsinger, and they get these 2 Waywatcher units focused in. Prey of Anathrema right now would be absolutely catastrophic for that Fey Enchantress, who has no support right now. You have some Rat Ogres close by, but losing the Fey Enchantress would be a very devastating loss at this point. There's still quite a bit of infantry left, and her leadership alone would be needs to stay there, even though I think Boris, I did lose track of him. I'm pretty sure he did go down. Unless that's Boris over there. There is Boris way in the back line, so the Fae is isolated, and there is Boris engaging with the Shade Wraith Gunners right now. Though I suppose there isn't a whole lot that can deal with him. You do have, looks like the Mourngulls, Noctilus, and Lord Scroak are kind of beelining it straight for him. There's 2 handgun units here could do quite a number on him if they turn and fire. That looks like RTK is trying to consolidate a lot of their forces into the rear and are pulling ahead in the balance of power. Demigrif Knights have taken a bit of damage right now, and I think if there's any healing left from that life or Spellsinger life, I think it needs to be cast on these Demigrif Knights right now. They are such a threat for the Bretonnians, as the Fey Enchantress has routed, and some of the Rat Ogres are coming back, trying to regain their breath. Pretty much now Demigrif Knights are cycling through some of the Zombie Pirate deckhand mobs. And we take a look at Boris, who is just getting absolutely surrounded. We have Noctilus, Scroak. I think Scroak should probably pull out of here. He doesn't want to take any unnecessary damage with how low in health he is. And Boris, he does pop his Bowseeker, and there is Noctilus firing in the supports, cutting right through this massive units, the Clan Rats, that is the summons right there, and these Mourngulls taking some damage as well. And it looks like Boris is able to actually pull out of that. As Steve, thank you for the support on that. And you can thank Legion as well. He was the one who pretty much picked out all the specs on that. Yeah, Count Noctilus. Right now, still quite a bit of ammo. I think these Gunnery Wights, I gotta imagine they still have some of their ammo abilities left to use to assist with Noctilus. And Noctilus, let's see if how much cavalry is left for Bretonia. I don't see a whole lot. Looks like we actually have some of the Warp Lightning Cannon crew might be coming back. There are a couple of cannons sitting around in the field. There's one there, two there. But, I mean, the Assassin is low, and I think that Glade Lord, with all the ammo that she has left, there's not a whole lot that can threaten her. If she peels off, goes after, I mean, the Warp Lightning Cannon crew here, the Assassin there. I think they can do a lot of damage there. The Wraith Storm fires into these Way Watchers. Not really the best clustered unit to be casting that on. Not as efficient. Demigrif Knights, I don't know where the other unit is, though here is the Fey Enchantress coming into that Bright Wizard, finally finishing him off. He just kept getting healed up over and over again, but finally is being routed off. And with how much health he has left, like only 38 health, yeah, he's not going to be coming back. Noctilus getting focused down from the Shade Wraith Gunners. And here is a very important infantry or blob fight right now, as we have Boris engaged with the Morngul. I mean, the mortar, two mortar crews. So maybe not as important as I thought. I just saw a bunch of units, though. It does. There is. Okay, so that's still that one Demigrif model. I thought that may have been the remnants of the 7th or that 2nd unit. Though I think the benefit of the coast, or I guess Malverde's coast, is his handguns have. It's pretty much full ammo left. And they can just absolutely focus down, and they are, let's see if I can see the range, or at least the Shade Wraiths are in range of Noctilus. Noctilus does need to pull back. He needs to pull back farther behind his own troops and make sure that he stays out of range of the Shade Wraith and those two handgun units who are just absolutely taking him apart right now. Boris has reached his healing cap, but the Demigrif Knights are finally on top of the Fey Enchantress. The Fey Enchantress continues to do her Mortis Engine effect right now. Though I think this will be the end of her, as she does actually drop down to the attacks of that Demigrif Knights. And, I mean, that Spellslinger, if she has any health left, I think those Demigrif Knights need a little bit of topping off. They are nowhere near their healing cap. They still have 10 models left. And the Way Watchers, though, doing well at conserving their own ammo. Yeah, I think the biggest power balance for the BBB forces is going to be in their handgun units, who can really sway the balance of power quickly, as especially with Noctilus, because Noctilus is going down, so unless he gets a heal, he's going to be dropping down to that focus fire as well, and he is going to be getting an Earthblood, and it might just be enough to salvage him for the time being. I mean, 336 health, it is able to, it might keep his health, but he is still crumbling right now. He has Arcane Conduit, 588, and dropping. See if he regains that leadership. If he doesn't, that is going to be a big loss for the range department there, though his targets have pretty much been all dealt with. Glade Lord getting on top of that Warp Lightning Cannon just as they were getting onto those their artillery pieces, and should be able to rout them off the field, and in comes some of the spears getting into the bomber units. But yeah, it's just pretty much down to, I think, the Vampire Coast for BBB, and maybe a few other units. The Demigrif Knights do finally rout, but Noctilus is not in a very good place, as well as Boris is taking shots from the handgun. So I mean, Boris is likely to go down right now, and I think the Way Watchers are going to be the big answer to Noctilus in this late game. Yeah, these Zombie Pirate Gunnery, these just the regular units do take down Noctilus. Off goes his leg, and down he will go. And the balance power is still in RTK's favor. I think that is just due to, I mean, the archers are all that's left for the Wood Elves. For the most part, you have some spears. I think it is just down to the Wood Elves and these two Gunnery Wights for RTK. And if we take a look back, we do have another unit of Warp Lightning Cannons. They might be getting back onto that model, so they do come back even after being chased off by that Glade Lord. Actually, now that Lord Scroll's getting a little too far away from his gun support, and that Glade Lord can just pretty much sit directly over Lord Scroll's head and just continue to fire away. The Count Noctilus trying to avoid these spearmen, though I don't know where exactly he is running to. I think he's just trying to chase off maybe Boris there. So yeah, I mean, I think leadership may be the killing blow, because all of these handguns have so much ammo. If they're able to hold on to their leadership, that could be enough to keep them in the fight. But these summon, or not the summons, the zombie pirate deckhand mob getting into the back of these handguns, I think it's just going to break them too soon. And I think also that Glade Lord being at full health with a ton of ammo, who was able to finish off Skrulk by the looks of things, and that will be our game, and RTK will take it. What a match. That just was a mass of chaos all over the board. Breaks through here and there. Yeah, take a look. I mean, the mortars here did a very good job early on taking out the cannons of the Empire. But yeah, the Sunmaker just getting replenished by those gunnery wights just made it fire for pretty much the whole match until it was finally able to be routed by the focus fire from the mortars. Lots of good damage from Count Noctilus, and I think also if you take a look at the Demigrif Knights, did very well on top of things. But yeah, it was a fantastic match. So yeah, congrats to also, yeah, we'll update the final scorecard as well. But yeah, that will be all of our games. Very well played on all sides. That last finale was such a fun match to watch, and just so much going on. And for the longest time, that was pretty much dead even. Oh yeah, I'm already saying there was over 8,000 troops on the battlefield at one point doing. Yeah, that was insane. All of the vampire coast on both sides, bringing all the zombies, bombers, lots of peasants and state troops. It was crazy, crazy match. So yeah, that will be all of our games here for you today. RTK will take it 10-1. And that will be all that we have for you guys here today. So unless there are any final comments in the chat, I think we are going to wrap things up. So I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. It looks like everyone is clearing out of the lobby. But that will be all for the stream today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all enjoyed all of the games. It was a ton of fun matches all across the board. And I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, have a good one.